Hello, hello, my brothers and sisters. This is Garrett Bake, your brother in arms, and welcome to another episode of The Tactical Businessman. Today's topic, stuck in the mud. I want to share with you guys my last week. My entire last week felt like it was a shit show. Like I literally felt like I was waist deep in mud. I wasn't going anywhere. And it wasn't just one area, right? It wasn't just my business. It wasn't just my relationship with my wife. It wasn't just my body. It was like everything. So my business, right? Right now I'm working on a new program, right? And it's a webinar that I'm putting on to be able to share some of the programs that I have with people who are curious, right? So you get to know me, you get to know what it is that I'm doing, and you can see if this is something that works for you, right? But I've been really struggling because I've hit this like threshold of when it comes to my knowledge base, i.e. what it is that I feel comfortable doing on a computer. Because remember, I was a police officer for 15 years. Yes, I had a computer in my car, but I would push a button that said en route, i.e. it's taking me somewhere, and then I'd hit arrived, meaning I'd arrived somewhere. Like this is what I would do on a computer, and I would type reports, right? That was it. But now I'm learning everything about funnels and about lead gen and about Facebook ads and about all these crazy things. So I hit this point and I got really frustrated, really stuck. It didn't matter how many YouTube videos I watched. I couldn't find the answer. I couldn't find what I was looking for. So I got that going on. We're selling our house right now. And you guys know, if you've ever sold a house, that it's a really frustrating thing. It's really stressful because when someone puts an offer on your house, they have a period of time where they can back out, where they can say, just kidding, right? This 10-day grace period. And so, or inspection period. So we're in this 10-day inspection period. They're in fact doing the inspection today. And if they find anything that they don't like about the house, they can say, just kidding, and just back out. Like no penalties, no nothing. They could just back out. And I was like, this is frustrating to me because I'm trying to make sure that my house is perfect or at least good enough to where whatever thing they're going to find wrong with it, it can be quickly remedied, right? And at the same time, my wife is stressing out about this and stressing out about where we're going to live and what house and the schools and everything associated with that. So we've been having arguments and fights about that. And then to top it all off, physically, I'm feeling really strong, right? I've got a new regimen at the gym. I've been working really hard there. My cardio is doing good, but I haven't been eating well. So what was starting to appear around the waistline? Exactly what we don't want, right? The little extra squishy. Nobody likes the little extra squishy, right? But here I am, like getting the little extra squishy. Why? Because I haven't been eating right. So I'm frustrated with work. I'm frustrated with my wife. I'm frustrated with my body. Like my entire life just feels like a big ball of frustration. I literally feel like I'm stuck in the mud. You guys remember when you were a kid, or if you have kids, when you're younger, right? What do you like to do? You like to play in the water. You like to play in the mud. And we at one point were living in this area where there was these big washes, right? And so when there was a lot of rain, the washes would fill up with water and it would bring mud and the kids would play in the mud. Well, we'd lose shoes all the time because if it gets to be anything more than like a couple inches of mud, you sink your shoe in there. If it's not on tight, it's not coming back out. Like that's what stuck in the mud means. Like you literally can hardly move. And so I got all these things going on in my life and I literally feel like I'm stuck in the mud. So I go to church on Sunday and I realize that I'm starting to become cynical at church, which shouldn't happen, right? But it's the truth. Like this is how I'm feeling. And there's a woman that goes up and starts sharing about the fact that she found an old man who had a dog that was having some medical issues. And so she drove the man and the dog a mile down the road to the vet. And I'm like, yay. Don't get me wrong. Yes, she did a good thing. But for me, it's like really, church? This is where you're going to share this stuff? So I wasn't feeling really connected to it. Then there's a gentleman that goes up after her. He's an older gentleman, probably in mid 60s, and he starts talking about something that happened in the early 80s. And I'm like, oh man, where is this going to go? But I'm like, okay, just listen to the man and see what he has to say. If you're familiar with the Phoenix area, you know we live in a desert. That's right. We don't get a lot of rain. But when we do, which is usually monsoon season, when we do, we get a lot of rain. There's some really good storms, a lot of flash flooding and whatnot. Well, in the early 80s, he was living about 45 minutes south of Phoenix. Desert, yes, but they had a lot of fields where they would grow alfalfa or they would grow wheat or corn or stuff like that. And he lived down there because he managed a citrus orchard. And he's talking about this period of time in the early 80s when they've got massive flood after massive flood after massive flood. And he had to be evacuated out of the house that he lived in. Well, his neighbor, that we say neighbor, was probably a few miles down the road, had to be evacuated too, but he couldn't get out in time. So they end up calling the National Guard. They bring in a helicopter, and you guys have seen this on TV, right? The rooftop rescues. They grab him. They grab his wife. Or I'm sorry, they didn't grab him. They grab his wife. They grab the kids, but they couldn't go back to get him. Like, for some reason, they couldn't go back to get him. So he's stuck there trying to wait this out. And this gentleman who's saying this is like, he's talking about how concerned he was and the friends and the neighbors and everything that he didn't get out. So the rain stopped, the floods recede, and they drive their trucks as close as they can get without getting stuck in the mud, jump out, put on mud boots, which is basically boots that come up, I guess, past your knees. I've never had any. And they start trudging through the mud to get to this man. Well, they get a certain distance away from his house, and they see this figure walking towards him. But this figure's covered in mud. And so the figure keeps coming towards them, and they're walking towards the figure, and they're like, what is going on? Is this, our neighbor or not? And he gets close enough, and the only thing that they see clearly is white. White what? White teeth. Like, this figure is smiling. And they get close enough, and they see that it is their neighbor, that he is okay, but he's smiling. Mind you, every acre of crop that he had has been wiped out, completely wiped out by the flood. There's nothing left. And so he's facing huge losses and all these other things. And they're like, are you okay? Like, we know your family was okay because they got out, but we didn't know about you. He's like, oh, I'm fine. In fact, I'm doing great. And they're confused as they're looking at this man who's covered in mud from head to toe, but smiling, talking about how great his life is right now. And so they're talking to him some more and just, make sure he's all right. And finally, one of the men asks, like, why are you smiling so much? Like, your entire crop got devastated. Your house is flooded. Like, why are you smiling so much? And the man kind of looks at him inquisitively and he says, don't you get it? Like, don't you see what just happened? My soil was so bad that I could hardly grow any crops. And because of this flood, it brought in all of this silt and all of these nutrients that were missing from the soil. So when I start to deep till my soil now, my yields, i.e. what it is that I'm able to grow and harvest, is going to go through the roof. And they sat there stunned. Here's a man who'd almost lost his life, lost every piece of crop that he had, but was smiling because he knew that from here on out into the foreseeable future, he was going to grow and be able to harvest more crops than he'd ever been able to do. And sure enough, that's what happened. For the next 10 plus years, this man's harvest kept going up and up and up and up because there were new nutrients in the soil, right? And I'm watching this man and my mind is just like, right, that explosion. How is a man who almost loses his life able to put this huge positive spin on what just happened? Like, his family had to be evacuated by helicopter. And here he is smiling about the fact that everything got wiped out because he saw it for what it was worth. And I sat there stunned listening to this man talk because it had impacted me so greatly. And I went back home and I started thinking about this and I started thinking about my business. Like, I'm feeling stuck right now, but what is actually happening? Well, what's actually happening is my capacity to be able to create is now growing, i.e. I've reached max capacity, so I can either like shrink down and stay right there, or I can break through this capacity, which is a good thing, right? It means that I'm capable of more. I looked at my relationship with my wife and understood that we hadn't been in this place before, but being in this place allowed us to what? Allowed us to be able to grow. Allowed us to be able to become more, to go overcome challenges that we never had before. But if we ever have them again, we're not going to be an issue for us. And I realized, again, that the reason that I was stuck in my body was because there was one thing that I wasn't paying attention to. And that was the way that I was eating. Like I'd fallen back into old habits. So this whole idea of me being stuck in the mud that I saw as being a negative thing was actually a positive thing, because what it was doing was it was causing me to grow. It was literally feeding me so that I could what? So that I could harvest more in the future, so that I could be more in the future. But right now, I had to get flooded out. So I ask you right now in your life, where is it that you're feeling like this? Where is it that you're feeling stuck in the mud? Especially you businessmen. See, as businessmen, we always get to this point where we feel like we're stuck, like there's nothing else that's going to happen for us. There's no way that we're going to be able to grow our business. There's no way that we're going to be able to make more money. And I want you to consider that all this is a flood, right? It's wiping literally everything out so that you'll have the proper nutrients in the soil to be able to grow and harvest what it is that you really want to grow and harvest. It's the same thing in your relationship with your spouse. You feel like you're stuck sometimes. You feel like everything's being washed out. But really all this is providing you the nutrients to be able to harvest something better. Same thing goes with your body. Like it doesn't matter what part of your life that we're talking about, but this is what a flood does if you allow it to. You can look at it as, yes, it wiped everything out, or you can look at it like this is what the future it's allowing for me to create in the future. So I want you guys to consider this, right? Like I did. I looked at it and I said, wait a minute. I've got a possibility that exists right now, and this possibility is new capacity. This possibility is new options. This possibility is new paths, right, that are created based on what just happened. And so this is what I see it as, right? Now listen, life isn't always, like they say, sunshine and roses, right? It's not. But you need the flood. You need the water to come in. Why? Because you need the new nutrients, right? To be able to grow again, to be able to grow bigger, to be able to grow better. So the next time that you feel like you're stuck in the mud, I invite you to consider that you're not stuck in the mud, but that someone or something is bringing this flood into your life for a reason. It is to provide the nutrients for you to be able to grow and harvest more than you ever have before. All right, that is it for today. As always, thank you for listening. As always, thank you for doing what it is that you can in your life to create that better life. But listen, I'm not going to be able to do that for you. I'm not going to be the one who's going to create a better marriage for you, a better business, a better body. Like, it's not me that's going to be able to do that for you. I will provide some guidance. I will provide some direction. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. You choose what to do with the mud in your life. For more information, you're always welcome to go to GarrettBake.com. Check it out. You can check out some of our programs, see if there's something there for you. And I'll have some come for you soon on a site that is yet to be disclosed. But I'm going to go ahead and disclose it now. WinTheDailyWar.com. That's right, WinTheDailyWar.com. I've talked about this concept for a long period of time now. And all winning the Daily War is tips and tricks that you can employ on a daily basis to set yourself up for success. That's what we all want, right? We all want to win. We want to win in business. We want to win in our personal life. We want to win in our marriage. How do we do that? You implement these tools, tactics, and techniques to set yourself up to win the daily war. So go to winthedailyWar.com. It might be live. It might not. I'm not going to lie. But there'll be some stuff for you there. It's all free. It's all for you to be able to apply to your life, to be able to get more, prepare more, and win the daily war. As always, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one.